Now in grammar lesson 10, we have come to the past, grammar lesson 11, we have come to the past tense, past simple tense. And the problem with the past tense that I see is that the form can change quite a lot. Now we did the present simple. One of the only rules that you have to remember is you put an S to the third person singular. For the future simple tense, you put will or a modal verb and the base form. But the past is a bit different because it can have a regular and irregular form. The regular is normally by having you add ed to the verb. For example, I talk, I talked. I talk to my parents every day. I talked to them every day last year. Talked. Ed. That is the common way of making a past tense by adding ed to the main verb. But the past tense has many irregular verbs as their past tense form. For example, if you talk about speak, it's not speak, it's spoke. Cut, cut. That's also the past tense. Read, read. Spelled the same way. So there is no way out of that except learning it. You can memorize that. There are enough and more lists on the internet. So go and learn how to make the irregular verbs past tense you've got to memorize. There's an added complication because there's a past tense of a verb and also there's something called the past participle, which is not a main verb by itself, but it is used as part of a main verb in many instances, which we'll learn in the future. So if you look at past tense, they are always given as the verb, the past tense form, and the past participle. So if you take speak, spoke, spoken. Spoken, the past participle can be used with have to make the present perfect tense, which I will teach you later. I have spoken to him about this. Have spoken. That's the present perfect tense, which I haven't taught you yet, but I'll get there. I spoke to him yesterday. So the past tense is definitely over. You finish the action. And that is the use of the past tense. You use the past tense to talk about things in the past, which is over. Right? There the past simple tense is used. The common way is to put ed, but there are many irregular forms which you have no option but to learn. Even with the irregulars, there are patterns that you can follow, but English and I guess Sinhala as well, no one rule fits all. So the more you read, I mean, it's much better to read things than try to memorize verb forms, because once you start reading and loving what you read, it automatically goes into you. And if you make a mistake, your eye and your eye will say there's something wrong here. That is why it's important that you familiarize yourself with English as you learn. Okay, so past tense, find whatever list that you want on the internet and have a look, and then it's not that difficult to make, right? For the poem that I will use, I'll just repeat something that I also either will use or have already used for my Dvibhashanya, the Twice-Edged program, and William Wordsworth's Daffodils, which is a very common, very well-known poem within the English-speaking world. And there it's interesting because the first three verses are definitely in the past tense. The poet is explaining what happened before. Did this, saw that, over, right? And then the last verse, he comes to the present and says, this is what is happening because of what happened in the past. It's a good poem and it's fun. I won't explain it very much because I did explain it in my other program or will be explaining. So please have a look at in my channel, most of this is interconnected. One nourishes the other. So have a look in Dvibhashani. I did this poem in both languages. Here I will just read it in read it in English, right? So this is, you will see many past tenses used in the first 3 verses, and the last one goes into the present. Okay. Daffodils. It's also called I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud. Either way, William Wordsworth. I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on high over vales and hills, when all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils, beside the lake, beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze. Continuous as the stars that shine and twinkle on the Milky Way, they stretched in never-ending line along the margin of a bay. 10,000 I saw at a glance, tossing their heads in sprightly dance. The waves beside them danced, but they outdid the sparkling waves in glee. A poet could not but be gay in such a jocund company. I gazed and gazed, but little thought what wealth the show to me had brought. For oft, when on my couch I lie in vacant or in pensive mood, they flash upon that inward eye, which is the bliss of solitude. And then my heart with pleasure fills and dances with the daffodils. So if you look at the first 3, wandered. I saw a crowd. See, the past tense is saw. They stretched in the second verse, they stretched in never-ending line. The main verb is stretch, past tense, stretched in never-ending line. 10,000 saw I. See, past tense, saw. I saw, they've inverted the two, saw I. The waves beside them danced. Dance, past tense, danced. But they outdid. Outdo, past tense, outdid. I gazed and gazed, looked and looked. Gaze, present, gazed. When the E is already there, you just put a D, gazed. And then the last one where he says, even at that moment, I never knew how much this sight would mean to me, because this is what it does all the time now. So he comes to the present simple and he says, every time I'm lonely or I'm thinking about something, they flash upon. Now not flashed, flash. Present simple, because they do it as a habit these days, like at present. And then my heart with pleasure fills. Naturally, every time I think of them, my heart with pleasure fills and dances with the daffodils. So, famous poem. The past tense is very easy to learn and to see, because most fiction is written in the past tense. So, just pick up a story that you like and read it, so that you get used to these verbs without specifically having to study them separately. Thank you very much.